Hey everybody, this is Captain Jeet here for you for another One Piece Manga chapter review. This is going to be One Piece Manga chapter 1181 titled God and Demon. So let's get into it. This is not my gameplay. This gameplay is specifically made by One Piece Fighting Path PvP of all the ultimates inside of One Piece Fighting Path. So let's get into this chapter. So the beginning of the chapter starts off with the cover page request as usual. And the cover page request is just Carrot walking and singing along some panda dolphins. Like Disney panda dolphins making a bridge for her. And she's walking and singing. It's kind of cute. It's kind of funny. But let's get into the actual chapter. So the actual chapter starts off with Loki remembering what happened all those years ago when Hero died, saying that he doesn't care what happened to his reputation when he dies. All he cares about is the future of Elbaf. And Loki tells Emu, almost said he almost said he told Hero. Loki tells Emu that last year he would have turned 144. The lifespan for a giant is 300 years. He had so much more life to give into this world, and you cut it short. You're the one that controlled him and killed him, aren't you? Now, when he says this, Imu says, Mu alone bore such an inconvenience. Now, at first I thought, is he like asking, did he do this? Which I know a lot of people were saying. Well, I really only heard this from Brago DAs. I think some other people were saying it too. But I know Brago was saying this that maybe there might be two people instead of Imu because last chapter he asked, "What? I mean, who's the king of Elbaf?" And we know that he asked this question already when he was inside of Gunko's body, so certainly he noticed. Maybe there might be two different people, and they're using a lot of different techniques. Because when they were inside of Gunko's body, they were using Gunko's abilities, which I mean, they're inside of their body, so that makes sense. But remember, they had the giant Mexico book, they had the shotgun. They're doing a lot more different stuff than they're doing right now. So there might be two different people, and I was thinking that because why is he asking this? Now, there's no question mark in the text bubble. Maybe in the viz there might be a question mark, but right here there's no question marks. I don't think he's asking. I think he's just saying, "Yeah, I bought an inconvenience." I think he's just saying that, which is kind of funny, but yeah, he's just saying that. Anyway, Loki, he gets really mad. He brings out Ragnar, the mighty hammer. He cocks it back, and he's getting madder and madder. And then a bunch of dark clouds start to swirl around him. We see a bunch of lightning starting to go crazy. He's thinking about what happened to Harold. It was 14 years ago, right? He's thinking about what happened to Harold, just talking to him about the future of Elbaf and when he died, and he gets really mad that Emu was the one that basically killed him. Yes, Loki's the one that did the killing shot, but he had to because Emu was the one that controlled him, was making Harold do all that bad stuff. And he does a move called Ragnar Ichi, where he swings his mighty hammer, swings it down on Emu, and Emu's able to block it easily. He just gets that black flame from last chapter with the monster face up there, makes it into like a wall, and blocks it with ease, which is wild because Loki, like I said in this chapter, it's kind of funny. That's like perfect timing because of the lightning. But he grabs his mighty hammer and he cocks it back and swings it full force, and then the like gigantic lightning bolt just swirls down and hits Emu, and he blocks it easy. Even Emo was like, "Whoa!" I mean, not Emo. Even Loki was like, "Whoa!" He blocked that like with ease. Like I can't believe he kind of blocked that. Anyway, after he blocks that gigantic light, I mean, it wasn't just a lightning bolt. It was the lightning bolt plus Loki with the hammer himself swinging it, and he blocked it so easily. I know, I'm sorry, I keep saying that, but it's just so wild. I mean, this is Emu, but he just blocked that with ease. Anyway, he blocks the lightning bolt strike and the hammer with ease, and then it makes a gigantic shockwave that blows everybody back. There's this one panel I was a little confused on, like, what's going on? But oh, I understand it. So in this panel, when that gigantic shockwave happens and it blows everybody back, we see Lilith and Bonnie grabbing Sanji's body. Because last chapter, Imu, kicked Sanji with that giant explosion. We don't know what happened to him. It seemed like he's knocked out. Because the giant explosion, oh, that's perfect timing. Sanji just popped up. But Sanji, he's like, his body is just flailing in the wind, and Lilith and Bonnie has to grab him. So, yes, that attack from last chapter and knocked out Sanji, which is wild. I mean, that was a pretty devastating attack, but I thought he'd just be down for the count. I didn't know he'd be knocked out. Anyway, Loki, he's really surprised that he was able to block that with ease. And then Emu does that same technique from last chapter, but a little differently. So he does his hand movement like this, and he calls out Omen. Now he specifically says that the Omen is the military might of Mu, and then he uses the black flame Omen to turn himself into a giant. Now, in the panel when he turns himself into a giant, we don't get like multiple panels of him transforming, but when he does call out Omen, we see his hand getting bigger like Gear 3. The giant form looks to be not the exact same size as Loki, so they're not like, right next to each other in height, but he's big enough to where he can contend with Loki in this giant form. So while he's in this giant form, he brings out a staff and he brings out the black flame ball again, and the black flame ball hardens on the tip of his staff to make like a mace. And he swings his staff, and Loki swings his hammer, and they clash together, and they're making a huge shockwave. Now, after that happens, Emu was able to jump above Loki, turn the black flame ball into a sword, and does a technique called Nemesis, and comes down and stabs Loki right in the chest. That is nasty. I mean, that was really cool. I mean, he was able to block that one attack from Loki with ease. Jumps of the class with him equally, jump above him, and then stab him right in the chest. Now that's not down for the count with Loki. He's doing pretty well in this fight. Now he's kind of getting outclassed, you can tell, but he's doing decently in this fight. But Emu stabs him in the chest with his black flame sword. After he does this, Emu specifically says, "People long for strength. However, the power they so desperately crave can be absorbed and turned. It can be absorbed with astonishing ease through corruption." Now, when he says this, we see the flip version of Dorian Bragi through converging interests that bind them in subjugation, a contract. And then we get a panel of when Harold got the contract. And for that to become possible, from envy is born power. And this trinity is domination. Now, I think it might be also dominion, but I think he says dominion later, but I'm pretty sure the first word is nation. So I think it's domination. Is that T? Or it might be dominion. Now, while he's saying this again, while he's saying all this, Emu grabs his staff, makes the mace again with the flame, and spins it around, slams it right in Goku. I almost say Goku, slams it right in Loki's face, and makes a giant explosion in his face, and it sends him. It doesn't send him flying, but it does, knock him back down. Like he's just constantly whacking this guy around while he says all this. Now, this is interesting because when he's saying that the power they so desperately crave can be absorbed with astounding ease. And then we see Harold, we see the corrupt version of Dorian Bragi. So does that mean every time he flips somebody or every time he makes a contract, he gains their powers? Well, not gains their power, but he gains their strength. Is that why he's so strong? Because, Emo's probably been doing this since back in the day. He's been doing these contracts and flipping people since, the Void Century and stuff with Joy Boy. With that comes into play later. He's been doing this for a while. So everybody he's flipped or does a contract with, he's gained their strength. Like no wonder he's so strong. Now obviously he doesn't specifically say that, but with him saying this, maybe. Maybe, maybe. So after that happens, Loki, he's able to get back up from that attack, and Emu says, Mu shall grant. Basically, he tries to sway Loki, saying that he'll shall grant him the power of a god. And Loki says that he doesn't need that. And he brings out Ragnar again, and he hits Emu point blank. Like Emu doesn't use the black flame to block it. The hammer is right in his face, and boom, hits him point blank right into the ground. And Emu tanks it with ease. Like he doesn't even look that messed up. He slams him into the ground, and Loki's huffing and puffing. And he goes, that power you have, the dominion of a god or whatever, it sounds more like a demonic contract to me. And Emu just gets up and he goes, "What's the difference between a god and a demon?" Loki's like, "What?" He got up from that. So Loki gets back up, grabs his hammer. He goes, "I don't know, but I won't be ruled by anybody." And Emu says, "The joy of this world lies in this might be Dominion now that I'm looking at it. Because at first, when he says Dominion the first time, it's like because like it goes to the next line, so it's like part of the word and it goes down to the next. But when he says the joy of this world lies in, it's like one full word, Dominion. So I think he does say Dominion the first time because domination, domination. Yeah, I think it is Dominion. Sorry about that. I'm not reading it right for you guys, but I think it is Dominion. Dominion. I think it is dominion. But anyway, when he says the joy of this world lies in dominion, he says, "Isn't that right?" And then we get a flashback panel as a silhouette. "Isn't that right, Joy Boy?" And when he says this, he starts to yell it. And it's really funny because, Emu's been like this prim and proper guy, looking really stoic since last chapter. But his mouth, it stretches like not like super long like Luffy, but his mouth does stretch kind of long out when he's yelling. Isn't that right, Joy Boy? And he brings out his black wings again to fly upwards. So he's getting pretty mad about whatever happened. I guess he had a conversation about the power and the contracts and the demon god stuff with Joy Boy back in the day. I guess Joy Boy probably didn't agree with that, what he was saying. And the silhouette looks just like Luffy. It's never funny. It looks just like Luffy. It'd be funny if whenever we do get to see Joy Boy in full, it's just Luffy with without the scar. Maybe he has like a different scar, but it looks just like Luffy with the silhouette. He'll probably look different than Luffy though, but in the silhouette, it looks just like him. There's also some sort of blob in the background in the flashback panel. I'm assuming this is. It looks like ice cream in a cup, so we're just gonna assume it's ice cream in a cup because the blob doesn't exactly look like the emu blob that we've always known since until now. So it might not be emu because it looks so small too, but maybe I don't know. By the way, after this happens, we get a double page spread of Luffy, and he's back to normal. He's back into a regular Luffy form, but he's still eating food there. And the reason why he's still eating food, he's thinking to himself, I need to eat more. He specifically says, I need to eat more. I need to eat more. I never felt this before. It's so heavy and suffocating. Seriously, what kind of hockey is this, man? If I don't eat more, I won't be able to win. I want more. I want more. So the presence of Emu is like shaking Luffy, not scaring him, but he knows that look, if I'm not able to, if I'm not able to stay in Gear 5 for longer than like 5 minutes, I'm cooked. He knows, like he can tell this guy is a different level than anyone he's faced. This is going to be a problem. I need to be a Gear 5 as long as possible. And in the panel while he's eating, he looks pretty big. So yeah, obviously this is giant food. So yeah, he's been eating a lot because it is giant food. But yeah, he needs to make sure he eats and he eats a lot. He cannot skimp on anything. Now there's still a lot of food left around him. I doubt he's gonna stay, eating all this food the whole time because Loki's gonna need some backup. He's definitely gonna need some backup here. But the very last panel, the double pig spread. And while not Joy Boy, while Emu is yelling about Joy Boy, Loki's able to get back up. He says, "You got your head somewhere else, don't you?" Underestimating me a little too much. And he's able to hit Emu point blank with the hammer again, and it sends Emu flying across Elbaf right into a tree. Now, it's like when he slams into, well, actually, I don't think this is a tree, I think it's like a mountain. But he hits Emu, and we get like a panel that's like an outward shot, and Emu goes flying. That boy is flying across the sky, and he slams right into a mountain. And after he slams into a mountain, Loki turns into the Nighthawk. Now, when he does this, Emu at first does look, well, I wouldn't say he looks scared. There's a tiny bit of blood coming from his head from that attack. I wouldn't say he looks scared. He looks more surprised. He turns to the Nighthawk dragon and he goes, Nighthawk! And then he does the same hand movement from last week when he does the Omen, but he does it with both his hands. And then Loki does the Thunder Breath attack that he did when he was fighting against the Nightmare monsters. Thor, him, and when he does this, Emu's able to block it again with ease, which is wild because this like lightning breath attack is like 10 times bigger than what he did with the hammer, and he blocks it with ease. Now, when he did the hammer move, he only needed one hand. He needed two hands with this, but he's still blocking it with ease. It's still blocking it with ease. You know what I'm saying? Like it's still that's still very impressive the fact he was able to block this with ease at all. Like this is kind of wild. And then Emu, he just smiles. He says, "You returned." uh, with a fearless smile. End of chapter. I think I saw some people say that next week, it doesn't say there's a break, but I think it's like something going on. Like, I don't think it's Golden Week. It might be Golden Week next week, but there's some sort of thing going on next week to where all chapters for anything is going to be delayed. So it's going to be on break. So there's no official break, but this is going to be a break next week, which kind of sucks. But man, this was wild. Loki, he was able to do somewhat decent against Emu. He took a good amount of attacks. Now you can obviously tell these attacks are doing a good amount of damage to Loki. Him huffing and puffing, getting blown back constantly. Like Emu was clearly outclassing him. But Loki is still strong enough to tank these attacks a decent amount to get back up and keep on swinging. Now, how long can he do this? I don't know. Now, he's gone into his full-on Nighthawk form. He didn't go into his hybrid form. He might need to go into his hybrid form to dog his attacks a bit more easily. Either way, an Emu seems to be able to change into whatever type of form he needs to. Because the fact he was able to turn into a giant to contend, he didn't really need to turn into a giant to contend with Loki, But he can turn into a giant. He could probably maybe even shrink his size down into a regular human size whenever Luffy gets in here. So yeah, it does seem like Emu can change around his body any way that he needs to for whoever he's fighting. And it doesn't seem like Emu is even tired. Now we do see a tiny bit of blood from him after Loki's hits him across the like canyon, but it doesn't seem like Emu's tired at all. We know he has a time limit, but he can't stay here for too long. But for right now, it seems like he's okie dokie. The time limit might be catching up whenever Luffy does get in here. I'm assuming Luffy will get in here either when Loki's out of gas or maybe when Loki's near out of gas. So I don't know. But this was good. I'm glad Emu seems more the aggressor because I was really hoping that. I think I said that last video too that Loki should do a lot better than Zoro and Sanji, but he should not win. It doesn't look like he's gonna win this. It doesn't look like he's gonna win this at all. And Emu get really happy seeing Nihog, so it'd be kind of wild if he can just take his devil fruit. I doubt that. That'd be kind of broken, but that'd be kind of wild though. That'd be really very wild if he'd be able to do that. And yeah, that's the chapter. That's the whole chapter. Loki still fighting him and Luffy still eating. But the techniques he was doing was so cool. I don't know if he'll be able to like absorb the powers of everybody he ever corrupted, but that'd be pretty broken. I remember I said this last week too, that he might have every race within him because he has the giant black wings, just like the Lunarian. His skin looks like New Lunarian too. Some people said it might be what's it called? What's it called? It might be red. Some people say his skin might be red because if you go to King, he shaded a little different. I think Joy Boy Theory said this that his skin is shading a lot different than King, so it might not be black. I mean, yeah, black or brown. It might not be brown like Lunaria. It might be a lot different, which maybe, probably. I guess we'll see whenever the official colors come out. But he has like different things. I didn't know that. I didn't say this last week either. But the belt that he's wearing, like his pants, look like Elbath type of pants, don't it? Doesn't it look like kind of Elbath type of pants, the pants that he's wearing? So maybe, yeah, that'd be kind of cool that he's part giant, ancient giant, Lunarian, Tantata nonsense. Nat, my good friend, will say that he might be like a big Tatana, which is kind of funny. I was like, I don't know, I doubt it. I real highly doubt it, but maybe. This was a good chapter though. I can't wait for it. I guess, well, maybe there might not be a break next week, but I heard some people say that. Or maybe not, I don't know, but I guess we'll see. But yeah, that's a chapter for you guys today. So, like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you all later. I'll see you all next time. I thank you all for watching. I thank you all for being woman human beings. And I'll see you all next time. Bye bye. All right. Oh, yeah, let me bring out the hammer one last time. Sorry. I didn't know I'd be able to bring out the hammer so easily, but yeah. The mighty hammer. Ragnir. Or Stormbreaker, but the same difference. Same difference. Still good though. All right. Bye bye. Do I want to end it on Jozu though? I don't know if I want to end it on Jozu. I ended it on Kaido last time. I ended on the mighty Whitebeard this time. This ultimate looks so cool. I wish we had this on the console. But all right, yeah, that's it. Bye.